Okie dokie, welcome to homework number 4 on the fundamental theorem of calculus for 1026. Let's get into it. Today we're doing definite integrals. So, starting with the first one, number 1, we have the integral from 5 to 8 of 8. So we find the antiderivative of whatever's inside the integral. That would be 8x, and then we evaluate that from 5 to 8. What that means is we plug in the upper bound, the 8, first. We plug in the lower bound, the 5, second, and then we subtract the 2. This is going to be the process. So we get 64 minus 40, and we get 24, and that is our answer. Let's keep it going. Number 2. This one, once again, we have more terms, but still just evaluating the integral, the antiderivative of each of these terms. We get 7x cubed over 3. We get minus 6x squared over 2. We get plus 6x. We can simplify the 6 over 2 to get 3. And then we're evaluating this from 0 to 1. We plug in the upper bound of 1 first, so we get 7 times 1 cubed over 3 minus 3 times 1 squared plus 6 times 1. And then we plug in all the zeros, and we get 0 minus 0 plus 0. So it's all zeros, and then we subtract all those zeros. So we can kind of neglect all that stuff. It's more about plugging in the 1 in this case. We get 7 times 1, which is 7 over 3 minus 3 plus 6. We get 7/3 plus 3. 3 is equal to 9/3. 7 plus 9, 16. Leave it over 3. That's just some addition. That's some fraction stuff. I'm not going to explain that. That's pretty much it. So antiderivative, plug in the 1, plug in the 0, subtract the results. Number 3. Once again, antiderivative of the square root of 3x. Now this one, might have to whip back out some substitution. U substitution, where we identify u as 3x. The derivative of 3x is 3. Tack on dx. Solve for dx by dividing by 3. Make some substitutions into the integral. So rewrite the integral, basically. And we'll have square root of u, and in place of dx, we have du over 3. And then we can pull the 1/3 out and just have the integral of square root of u du. Now, if you're wondering about the bounds, you could leave them as 0 to 3. The maybe disagreement people might have with that is these are x values, and you should have the integral all in terms of u. So it's a preference thing, really, at this point. You could leave it in terms of x. You could plug 0 and 3 into 3x. So like if you plug in for x equals 0, for x equals 3, you could plug in 0 to to the u calculation, and you could get 3 times 0, which is 0, and then 3 times 3, which is 9. So you could convert the bounds from 0 to 3 to 0 to 9. And really what that would save you from is having to convert everything back in terms of x at the end. But again, just a preference thing. So I'm going to leave it as 0 to 3, like kind of mentally, and right here, I guess. But note that 0 and 3 are x values, and this integral is in terms of u, so it might be a little conflicting to some people. We are evaluating this integral, and in order to do so, we need to rewrite it as u to the 1/2, so that we can then use the reverse power rule to add 1 to the exponent. 1/2 plus 1 is 3/2. Again, you can use the rule of like top plus bottom over bottom, something like that. So 1 plus 2 is 3 over 2. 1 plus 2 is 3, and then we leave it over 2. And then we can't forget to divide by that new exponent. We also cannot forget the 1/3 that was out in front in the first place. So we got some sorting out to do, some simplifying to do. If we are dividing by 3/2, that's the same as multiplying by 2/3. So we have 1/3 times 2/3 times u to the 3 over 2. And what I would do is get this back in terms of x and also simplify. So 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 3 is 9. U was 3x. and u is being raised to the 3/2, and now this is what we are evaluating from 0 to 3. If we had left it in terms of u, you would have evaluated this from 0 to 9 because of the u bounds, right? So again, it's a preference. I like x's. So plug in the 3, plug in the 0, subtract them. So 2/9, 3 times 3 is that 9. 3/2 minus 2/9, 0, 3/2. This whole thing goes to 0. We're just focused on 2/9 times 9 to the 3/2. 9 to the 3/2, we would take the square root with that 2 there. So square root of 9 is 3. And then we would cube that 3. So we get 27. And then we have times 2/9. 27 divided by 9 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 is our answer. Here's a look at number 3. Let's do maybe one more, and then we'll try to do the next part all in one video. This is number 4.